Hello again, YouTube! This is Dr. Kendo, and I'm here with Scribblenauts Unlimited, the object editor commentaries where I create your favorite characters in the Scribblenauts Unlimited object editor. This is not available on the 3DS version or the mobile versions, phones, etc. All of that good stuff, tablets, iPads. Okay, now that we're through that, we're starting off with a source object of a mecha. As for today's character, which is going to be the Shacktron from Gravity Falls, of course it has some other names that people call it by, but Seuss called it the Shacktron. That's what we're gonna call it. So you saw that I took off the head of the mecha, put the arms out to the side a bit more, and we're gonna type in log cabin right here. That gets you this green roofed log building. This building is kind of crazy when you're trying to color each individual wood piece or log. So hopefully you'll notice I am gonna speed it up in editing, but just notice that I'm being very deliberate, trying to touch the center of each log, and really that's what you should do when you're coloring in these pieces, because you'll notice as you try to color those side logs and stuff like that, and even this right here, it colors a part of the door frame, I guess, and so even that, just trying to color the door right now, I'm trying to color it all black so it looks like it's open, but just even coloring that kind of was messing with the frames and things like that, and messing with other pieces in general of the log cabin, so looks like we're getting past all that. You don't really need to color in this last part of the log cabin on the side if you are going to be going by my design, which is going to look like this. We're taking a lean-to, so that's L-E-A-N space T-O, a lean-to, and of course color that front of the lean-to black right there so it looks like the arm is kind of coming out of the lean-to, and we're going to cover up that window on the side of the lean-to with a sphere. So of course you can go into the geometry library in Scribblenauts Unlimited to grab that sphere, or if you're in Scribblenauts Unmasked, you're going to have to type in sphere, as most of you know, and so the lean-to is just going to be for some more, I guess, the side of the mystery shack. You know, it's not just that log cabin-y shape. It has sort of other things coming off of the sides, other attachments. And so then we're going to take this rectangle. This is going to be for some of the wood right here. I think that's from the logging truck on this arm right here. This arm would be the right arm of the Shacktron if you're kind of counting or if you're paying attention to which side, but it's to our left. And then we're going to take this triangle right here for some of the window part, I guess up top, and I painted it with that sort of metallic-y sort of silver color pattern, and of course then painted over that with yellow. And so then the portal piece right there is the other triangle that's going down just in between the legs, and so that will do it right there. Then we'll take a kiwi, and that's going to be for kind of this Gideon bot leg that's on this side. It's the right leg of the Shacktron, of course to our left, as I said before, and then another rectangle right here is going to be for some of this scaffolding and whatnot for the other leg. This is the one that it's the left leg of the bot, and it has the Seuss truck on it. We'll get that in a second. As I type in this disc, I'm also noticing I'm going to put the thigh piece, I guess you could call it, of the mecha, you know, the upper leg piece right there. I'm going to put that in layered in front of the leg. And so then after that disc is in place, which is going to be sort of for that rotator part on Shacktron's legs, then I'm going to take this pickup truck, you know, just type in truck, and that's probably the closest we're going to get for Seuss's truck, unless you just used a whole bunch of other stamps and made it out of tons of different stamps. I will put tires on it in the end if we have enough stamp space, but we'll move on to some of the other pieces first, just in case we have to sacrifice here and there. And so you saw that I took an arm from the 29-page library. It's in the bottom left-hand corner. It's the third page of the 29-page library. And then I'm going to take this, a road pike. And so the road pike is just a long, kind of thin, line-esque shape, and that's going to be sort of for just like the grounding and whatnot, the foundation for the mystery shack right there. And so we will move that down and put it layered behind everything, so that's looking all right. Good. And so for the hands, of course, on the mecha, you do want to kind of increase the size of the hands. I want them to have a little bit more surface area, and you know, if it was going to grab anything, which you don't have to make it grab anything in any of the hands, but if it was going to, then it would look a little bit more realistic as long as you increase the size of the hands as well on the mecha before you start putting stuff on it. And so for this right arm right there, we've got Jenny Greenteeth. I took her arm. It's put behind the wood that we had right there on that arm. And then for the other arm on the other side, the left arm, we've got this anti-prism shape. It's going to be for where the T-Rex is, at least the body of the T-Rex. So yes, anti-prism is how you type it for Scribblenauts Unmasked users. But surely you guys have seen that shape in a few of my other creations in this series. And so then we just use T-Rex, both the top and the bottom bottom pieces of the jaw for the T-Rex head that's in there. And then I'm going to go with a weather vane. Of course, Vane is V-A-N-E, and that's going to be for the weather vane up top on the Mystery Shack, and it does normally have a question mark, but again, I'm not sure about stamp space and things like that, and so there are certain things that we're going to have to leave off and certain things that we can include and not include, so we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to go with Amphisbaena, take that head that has this little tendril or antenna or whatever on the top of it, and that's going to be for the top of the Gobblewonker's head. And then an octopus. You can see this upper tentacle piece that we use for the octopus right there is going to be for the lower jaw piece of the Gobblewonker. Of course, the Gobblewonker has teeth and a lot more just other details and stuff like that, but I am definitely, again, I'm conscious of the stamp limitations, and we'll get to that in just a second. I'll talk about that more and what that is. An ivory was the body of the Gobblewonker, just to use sort of one stamp that we could use for the entire body of the Gobblewonker, so that was nice. We're getting kind of to that phase where most of the main stuff is on it right now. We don't have all the pieces on yet of the Shacktron, but most of it is here. And so for the truck, I will go ahead and brown out the windows, of course, for Seuss's pickup. So just using glass, the raw glass right there. And we did add the tires to the truck to make that a little bit more realistic. And I'll go ahead and take a hand for the T-Rex, and hopefully you noticed, of course, there it was. We got the warning for stamp space. So we have reached the stamp limitation. We will add a few other pieces coming up a little bit later, but first, we gotta name this one, and it is the Shacktron, dudes! But of course, we are now going to go into the scripting or properties editor. And so whenever I do this in my series, I like to read background information and fun facts about the characters that we're creating and stuff. So of course, the Shacktron's name was coined by Seuss, just as the survivors and Gravity Falls residents were getting ready to use the mechanized shack in battle during Weirdmageddon. Seuss called it the Shacktron, and that's what we're calling it here in Scribblenauts, but in the game called Take Back the Falls, it's actually referred to as the Shack Bot. You can call it what you want, but nobody needs to comment saying it's really called whatever. That's not necessary. Just name it what you want. Anyway, it's epic, and many people in my audience have asked for it to be made for a while, and everyone should definitely note something as we have now created this. Just please note this. The Scribblenauts Unlimited object editor has a stamp limit. Yes, I know, it's called Unlimited. It has limits. A stamp is any word that we type in this game to use for our main character or object. The Shacktron in Gravity Falls has a lot of different details, many of which I've captured in this creation, but also several of which are unnecessary, impossible, or somewhat different in appearance when I'm using Scribblenauts stamps for them. So listen to me closely when I say people can create however they want, and I should of course ask for common sense when it comes to all of this. You don't design something in Scribblenauts and have it come out looking 100% like a spitting image of whatever your character or object is in real life. Although many will say I've gotten quite close throughout the life of this series in my 190 plus episodes, and I thank you, and I still believe that you don't achieve literal perfection in this game's editor. A few people may argue that point, but again, I ask for us all to use common sense. Yes, I'm aware that the Shacktron's weather vane has a question mark at the top, for example, or there's a little Gideon billboard strapped to the right leg and the Gravity Falls sign strapped to the left leg, or even the circle below the T-Rex, etc., etc. And of course, there's a Mystery Shack text sign and stuff attached, but it's on the other side of the Shacktron. So again, with the stamp limitations, certain things need to be included, but then certain things can be excluded in lieu of putting on more important things. I know what the Shacktron looks like. I know exactly what it looks like. I'm looking at an image directly from the show of the Shacktron, and I know exactly what it looks like. But we are going to add the totem. You know, there is that totem pole or totem shape just outside the Mystery Shack that they attach to the top, and it's a gun and all that, and then of course the chimney. So with that, we used a glue as a source object. The glue sort of serves as the base for the totem, connecting it on the hinge to the house or to the shack. And of course, nailed, which is N-A-L-E-D. Nailed is what we used for the base of the chimney. And we put a letter I on top of the chimney just sort of for the top part of it and whatnot to give it a little bit more detail. You can do as much or as little as you want to with that, but you can see that because it was glue, we can actually just kind of attach it to the top of the Shacktron right here. And again, there are other things. You can do them if you want to. You can create the Shacktron differently. I know that its hand doesn't look exactly like that for the grabber, the hand. Again, mark the statement that I made earlier. So check it out. We've got the Frieza forms from the last episode, and it's going to be an interesting battle, I guess, if we put the Shacktron Shacktron versus some of the Frieza forms. I know that if we just had all Frieza forms all at once, it would definitely... Oh, crap. I put the Frieza in the other Frieza's hand. Golden Frieza. Okay, there we go. I think we've got it all handled now. But yes, again, if we did all the Friezas versus the Shacktron all at once, I'm pretty sure Shacktron would lose in a pretty fast heartbeat, to be honest. And so we're just having it take on Golden Frieza and the fourth Frieza form right there. And again, this was last episode, so of course you can see this series and check it out. And of course, fourth Frieza right here is keeping Shacktron at bay, so it looks like fourth Frieza is actually going to destroy Shacktron, and yes, it made Shacktron fall to the ground. And so Frieza is super powerful. I mean, that's probably how it should go, but I did give Shacktron a ton of health. We probably should have increased actually the damage of the bash, but Shacktron also in the scripting, hopefully you noticed, I did make it so that after it loses or gains health, basically is the script, it will not only get the adjective of fearless so that it doesn't run away from fights and things like that, but then it will also shoot a projectile, which is a bullet, and that's to be like the totem, shooting out the bullets from it. And if only we could make the Gobblewonker and the T-Rex and stuff attack as well, independently of our Shacktron mecha source, that would be great, but no dice. So of course, I'm sure a lot of you are going to ask if you haven't seen the episode, but we did create the Henchmaniacs from Weirdmageddon back in the days of this series. That was episode 160 and 161, and so here they are. We should have them battle against the Shacktron, just like the Shacktron versus Henchmaniacs Gravity Falls battle, although this will be a little bit different in the respect that the Henchmaniacs are not in their bigger kind of red and black sizes and stuff like that, the darker, bigger sizes, when they get all powered up and whatnot, but this will still kind of be reminiscent of the battles because the Shacktron made mincemeat of the Henchmaniacs, and it looks like they are all going to fall to the Shacktron, and the Shacktron's uber power, I keep wanting to say his uber power, I don't know, the Shacktron is genderless, but it's a Shack. But here we go, it's taken down Keyhole Teeth, all these guys, and now it's going against Kryptos and Hectorgon, and Hectorgon is not doing what it's supposed to. I should probably script some of these Henchmaniacs to protect each other and whatnot, but that's okay. It's it's a fair fight and probably a little bit more representative of the Gravity Falls actual fight because, they all fought it kind of one by one, almost one at a time, even though they were all there surrounding it and stuff, it attacked each one separately, and the eye bats, of course, were a factor. There was lots of different other things, so obviously I'm not trying to replicate that exact battle here in Scribblenauts, but this is just similar. So there goes 8-Ball. Sadly, 8-Ball was one of my favorite Henchmaniacs, and there's Amorphous Shape, one of the seemingly forgotten Henchmaniacs by lots of people. They're always like, man, I didn't even remember or notice Amorphous Shape, but there it was. And so then we've got Piranha, also one of my favorites, and she's gone down, and of course, a lot of those Henchmaniacs were made with separate heads and bodies, so that's why they lose their heads in the battle. A lot of them drop the head to the ground. And so then the ultimate test is Bill Cipher, which we also created in episode 119. So 119 has Bill Cipher, and I don't know, how many Gravity Falls episodes does that make? I mean, the Henchmaniacs were in 2 parts, so that's why the Henchmaniacs, there were so many of them, and the Eyebats were there, but it was all made in 2 parts, and so that's actually 2 episodes with the Bill Cipher, and then we got the family, we had Ford, and the journals, I made that in an episode, and Shacktron here, so now we've got 5 or 6 episodes, I didn't count, but anyway, this is amazing. I hope you guys now can create a Shacktron of your own, and certainly make it really big. I think I need to just make mine just a little bit bigger, maybe increase the damage and stuff, and that'll do it. So one final announcement here before I leave for this episode. I do just want to say that PAX East is going to be happening next weekend in Boston, so I will be flying over there, and I will be doing a lot of stuff in PAX East, but I'm going to be with the Task Force 5. Of course, the Task Force is my other YouTube channel that I collaborate on with a lot of my friends. StephOfAnime, Jomo Doe, Crimson Knight, Wally Wynn, and myself, we're all the Task Force 5. And so for next week's Scribblenauts episode, I will not actually be doing the popular request. Usually I just create in this series whatever is most popular and most requested by the most amount of different viewers. But again, please listen when I say I will not actually be creating the most popular just for that PAX weekend. This will be Sunday, April 24th, so just that day. I will be doing a special Scribblenauts creation, and let's just say the Task Force 5 will be commentating it with me. I'll create it, then we will all watch it and post and commentate it from the hotel room at PAX East. I love all of you, and I will catch you on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.
Down the road of twists and turns, always anxious to see what's within. We can look ahead to the the point of no return to the rest of our lives as the spectacle begins.
Been down the road of twists and turns.